American reacts to 5 things the USA can learn about Germany. Let's take a look. Willkommen. My name is Sean Huggins and this is React with Hugs. Let's hop straight into today's reaction. All right, 5 things the USA could learn from Germany. This is from Haley Alexis, and she's an American, obviously, who is living in Germany or lived in Germany or something like that. I'm not sure exactly. It says here she's from Florida originally, so this should be interesting. I'm curious to see how her experience living in America, in Florida, differs from mine living in Pennsylvania, which is very far away from Florida. I've used this comparison a lot on this channel about a lot of different things, but I'll say it again. Florida is kind of like the GTA lobby of America. Like, there are so many crazy stories coming out of Florida, like every day, basically. And it's a cool place. I've been there a couple times. It's cool, but it can definitely be a pretty crazy place, and it's definitely very different than a lot of other places in America because America is so big and diverse. So yeah, I'm curious to see what her experiences of growing up in Florida are compared to where I've grown up in America, Pennsylvania, and also her experience living in Germany and also my experience living in Germany. So this should be interesting. Los geht's.
Hi everyone, what is up? My name is Haley. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you did not know, now
Haley.
you do. Hey you guys, what's up? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about things the USA could learn from Germany, and I'm pretty sure I've done a variation of this video before, but the points I'm talking about in today's version are things that I don't believe I've ever brought up on my channel, because during the hurricane, y'all, Mike and I had a very long road trip and we had very long conversations about things we would change about the USA, things we would do different in the USA, and we use Germany a lot of times as a comparison tool, and I believe these are very tailored to what we've experienced in Florida due to the hurricane. And so with that being said, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and let me know down below in the comment section what you think about this video.
Don't have to worry about hurricanes in Germany. That's kind of nice.
So
not gonna lie.
The first thing that the USA could learn from Germany is putting the power lines under the freaking ground. This was something.
That is a very good one. I'm not a structural engineer, so I don't know exactly how complicated that would be or all the intricacies of that, but in theory, on paper, that would be very nice. It would look a lot nicer. It would look a lot cleaner. And yeah, I don't know which method is better overall. I don't know all the pros and cons of each method, but definitely would look a lot cleaner and a lot nicer at the very least. I could say that without having to know much about it. Let's continue.
That I believe a few people brought up, like under or in the comment section of my Hurricane Milton update video. A lot of people were like, oh, you guys should put your power lines underground. Some people were saying that it's not possible. Some people were saying that flooding is an issue in Florida and that's an issue for underground power lines. But according to the Florida Power Light Company, which is our electricity provider, I know there are a few in the state, but I think this is the biggest. They have even come out and said that during hurricanes, underground power lines perform so much. I don't know how much it was. I think it was 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% even better than the freestanding over the ground power lines or poles. I also personally think that it's very ugly to have overground power lines. I know that it is a big investment. It's a lot of money. And I do think it's a little bit more time consuming to find the issue and repair it. If I'm not mistaken, I was reading about this a couple of months ago and I was so shocked about the information that I encountered, but I'm pretty sure that was one thing that was brought up continuously, how much more intricate and time consuming it is to find where the power outage is. But nonetheless,
yeah, I wonder how that works. Like, do you have to just dig up the power lines every time something goes wrong? Or yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I'm not a structural engineer, electrical engineer. I don't know how it works, but in theory, like I said, seems pretty cool on paper. Me and Issa lived in Thailand for a bit. If you're not following the vlog channel, I'll link that down below at Sean Huggins here on YouTube. We have vlogs of us living in Thailand. And boy, I gotta tell you, Thailand is an above ground power line country. And I think if they have some sort of electrical power problem, instead of fixing or changing a power line, taking it down, replacing it, they're just like, let's slap up a new one, because there's just like entire cobwebs of crazy power lines all over the place. And yeah, it's just crazy. But I think underground would be better for everybody.
Yes, it floods, and yes, flooding is bad for them, but if the power company is even telling you that it's better to have underground power lines, I don't know why we're not investing in this. I believe 60+%
Money.
of the USA,
More
or
money.
maybe Florida, has overground power lines. So we are improving where we live. We have underground ones, and we are one of the first areas in our town to get power back, and we rarely lose power where we're at. But somewhere like, let's say my mom, where she has overground power, she loses her power in like a blink of an eye. Maybe it doesn't work everywhere in the USA, but I know in Florida it would be such an improvement, because people going weeks without power after storms is really an inconvenience. So the next thing that...
Yeah, I believe that it would definitely be a lot better. Most places that I've been in America have been above ground power lines. I can't think of any places with underground power lines off the top of my head. Maybe I've been to some. I don't know. But definitely it is mostly above ground power lines. And yeah, it's not ideal.
That the USA could learn from Germany is more consumer laws. And
Another good one. Dude, you know what? I've watched a lot of Haley's videos in the past, and I don't always agree with everything she's saying, or maybe even not always a lot of what she's saying. But dude, starting off with two bangers right here. This is another good one.
Talked about this briefly in a few other videos about the rights afforded to consumers in, let's just say very broadly, the European Union, and more specifically Germany. People are protected from price gouging and crazy price increases that companies might try to implement.
Predatory pricing, even more so like misleading information about products or services. And yeah, just a whole plethora of different things that that are regulated in the European Union that aren't in America. Obviously, America is not the worst when it comes to those things, but certainly has a lot of room for improvement that they can learn from Germany. Like Apple, for example, Apple had their lightning bolt charging cable plug for however long. They invented their own plug, essentially to basically be able to charge more money because they have their own proprietary technology for charging and whatever. And then European Union comes along and they're like, no, you have to have USB-C for your iPhones, at least, like for your phones. And now Apple has USB-C for their phones, and that is way more standardized and just better for consumers, because why would you need to have a proprietary charging cable when there's already so many other charging cables out there? So just even little stuff like that. I guess that's not that little, that's pretty big, but yeah, definitely this is a good one.
And it does happen sometimes in Germany, but not to the extent that we saw during a natural disaster in Florida. And it is illegal. Technically, it's not allowed to happen here, but it still does. And the issue is,
that's the other thing. America has a lot of laws against predatory business practices, let's say that, but just the way that America is, like, they just don't enforce it usually. Like, usually companies are the ones that are always profiting, and consumers are always the ones that are getting screwed over, the short end of the stick. That's just the nature of America, basically.
Is that when you're in Florida and you're a declared emergency state and you're trying to leave and go somewhere else, those same people or the other states that you're trying to evacuate to do not have the same rules and regulations that you do because they're not in a state of emergency. So they know that people are trying to leave and they use that. And for me, I just don't think that it's fair. This is illegal in Germany. It's prosecuted. People get heavily fined. Businesses get heavily fined. They get in a lot of trouble. And here, yeah.
Technically illegal in America, just nothing ever happens. So it might as well not be illegal, basically.
People do get in trouble. You have to file a complaint with the Attorney General, which is something I did not know. I thought that the government would go after it themselves, but no, you have to file a complaint with the Attorney General. They have to investigate it, and then they have to decide if they're going to do something about it or not. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to do anything because it's a lot of bureaucracy, it's a lot of paperwork, and it's probably a lot of headaches. You just see, especially times during natural disasters where price gouging takes place. And I think I said in one of the comments, you know, a 10% increase, a 20% increase, a 30% increase, maybe even a 50% increase for, you know, supply and demand. But when you see things like a 300, 400% increase, sometimes upwards of 1,000% increase, that in my opinion should be heavily prosecuted. And so the next,
I mean, even you could look at when COVID hit and, you know, America was shut down and the economy was, you know, screeched to a halt and at a complete standstill and everything was terrible. The economy was crashing in America and the job market was crashing and everything was just as bad as it possibly can be. But then all of these gigantic mega corporations were coming out and having record profits, you know, during COVID. And it's like, well, if times are so tough and prices are so high because of inflation and because the economy is so bad and this, that, and the other thing, how are you still having record profits then? And the answer is probably some sort of maybe some predatory business practices. But what are you going to do? The answer in America, nothing.
Next thing
You're going to take it and like
I
it.
wish the USA would learn from Germany is better road laws, or actually stricter implementation of road laws.
She's cooking. She's cooking right now. Okay, so this is another good one. We in America actually have very, very similar road laws to Germany. It's just that, you know, it's like 90% of the way there. It's like 90% the same. It's just some details are different in Germany compared to America. But in general, we have all the same laws. It's just that, again, they are pretty much just not enforced at all in America. So with the exception of like the severity of breaking the law, and also actually getting in trouble for breaking laws, the laws are about the same. They're pretty similar in the grand scheme of things. It's just that people that break the laws don't really get in trouble that often. And when you do get in trouble, the consequences are a lot less in America. In America, if you are caught speeding, you might have to pay a small fine, and you might be able to do that forever, indefinitely, with no real consequences. You might just always be able to get caught speeding and just pay off your fine, and it's like whatever. In Germany, you might get caught speeding and you might lose your license. You might have to pay a fine. You might have to lose your license for however many months or a year or something. There's more strict penalties in Germany, and it's also enforced way more in Germany, even though the laws are, on paper, very similar. So that's another thing that could definitely be a lot better. Also, TÜV is obviously a lot better. In Germany, we have standardized inspections of cars in America, but again, it's just not nearly as rigorous, and it's pretty easy to pass the inspections of cars in America, whereas in Germany, it's just, again, a much more intense and rigorous process. So that would definitely be a good thing.
And Mike and I noticed this, I think also on our road trip to New York, the semis that wreak havoc on the interstate. And it's not to say that semis are bad, because they're not, but the amount of damage that they can do in comparison to one little car is mind-boggling to me, that nothing is done to prevent them from the crazy driving that they do. We were seeing semis driving almost 100 miles per hour downhill, almost hitting people. We saw them driving in the left lane, 20 miles under the speed limit, and that is illegal on the interstate in Germany. I'm pretty sure that nowhere on the Autobahn or nowhere on the highway semis are allowed to drive in the left lane. That is for people going fast, unless they're passing and there's only 2 lanes, then maybe that's allowed. But if there's a 3-lane road, the semis are not supposed to be on the left. In the USA, there will be trucks driving in the left lane, and there will be signs that say no trucks in the left lane.
Yeah, I mean, again, this just goes back to the laws are mostly similar, but again, in America, people just don't follow them, and they also don't have consequences nearly as much for not following them. And even if they do get caught and in trouble or whatever, it's basically like they get a slap on the wrist and they're like, don't do that again. And they're like, okay. And then they just do it again. And it's just nothing really ever comes of it.
And they will just keep driving. And cops will be driving next to them. Cops will be sitting watching this happen. Cops will be driving behind them and doing nothing about it. Cops will see them speeding down the road. Cops will see them driving erratically, and nothing freaking happens. Going away from semis and just normal cars, I wish cops here would be a little bit more stricter with people and their driving. I think that if people are driving too close to one another, that should be
a lot of bad drivers
watched out for a little bit more than hiding behind a bush and trying to catch someone speeding. Is speeding good? No, it's very dangerous as well. But also, when you're driving so close to someone that the person behind you cannot see who's in front of you, that is not okay. And this is just something that is so common here in the USA, and I find it to be so stupid. In Germany, you get in trouble if...
I know that people still tailgate in Germany, but I've seen more people getting pulled over or in trouble for tailgating in Germany in 8 years versus the rest of my life that I have lived in the USA. Yeah, I've actually been pulled over one time in my life, and it was in America, and it was for tailgating, but it was for being right behind a person on a motorcycle, and I had to get right behind them because I had to squeeze in to get onto the highway. The ramp was right there, so I wasn't really trying to, and it happened really fast, and I didn't want to do it, but I had to in order to get my exit. And it is what it is. But I haven't seen anybody else get pulled over for tailgating in America ever. And also, when I got pulled over, that was like 10 years ago. I don't know, 10 years ago at least. So definitely doesn't happen often.
If you drive too close to someone, you're not allowed to do it here either in the USA, but it still happens. And that's, I guess, the difference between both places. Not only do you have uneducated, ignorant people driving on the road, you have them driving sometimes vehicles that are very powerful and very dangerous for themselves and everyone else on the roadways. So, wish that would change.
Yeah, motorhomes in America are essentially, as far as I understand it from talking to people that are selling motorhomes, you can just essentially buy a gigantic motorhome with just any old driver's license in America, and you could just start driving like a house on wheels. And that is terrifying because a lot of people don't know how to drive normal cars, let alone one that is literally the size of a house. And apparently that's what you can do in America with just a normal, average, everyday driver's license. So that's pretty scary.
Thing that I wish the USA would learn from Germany has to deal with driving and roadways as well. And I feel this video is just tailored towards the car, but it's because we spent so much time in the car on a road. But I wish that the USA would learn how to repair potholes like Germany does.
Oh yeah, the condition of the roads in America is definitely pretty shitty. It's very bad, actually. Like just everywhere. It's just very bad compared to Germany. That is Another good one. 4 for 4 so far.
And I know some people might disagree because there are going to be people in the comment section that say Germany takes so long to fill a pothole, which is true. It takes 30 people in Germany 2 years to fill one pothole, but that pothole is filled to perfection. It takes one person 1 minute to fill a pothole in the USA, and your car might.
And then you just have a speed bump. It's not. It's filled, but now it's just a speed bump, and every time you go over it, it's just boom, boom on your tires, and then you multiply that by 1,000 because there's 1,000 potholes that got filled, and then when you're driving down the road in America, it's like you're just driving off road at times. Actually, a lot of the times, it's like you're just driving off road because there's so many potholes that got filled in, and they're all just bumpy lumps of mess. Yeah, this is true.
Be in a new universe. It's like a roller coaster. You're on Six Flags amusement park.
Yeah, this is really how it looks in a lot of places. Like this one on the left is that's pretty extreme. That's really bad, but it's still not uncommon. But like something like this is pretty common. Like you can see in the distance, it's mostly fine, but then you'll get like patches like this where it's just like, huh, what is this? And this stuff like this is very common. So then you go over this and you're like, and it's like, I might as well be driving off road right now. So yeah, these are two good examples here.
Studios, Hollywood Studios, Disney World type of roller coaster on the interstates, on the highways, on the back alley roads here. Seriously, it's so funny to me because no matter where Mike and I drive, we are going to find the worst potholes in this country. And we were laughing because we said we can't avoid it. We'll be on the interstate, humongous pothole. We'll be on a side road, a humongous pothole. And they just don't get repaired, or they get repaired really shitty. And then I feel like it's worse. And Mike is like, yeah. Die müssen was gegen das machen. And I'm like, they're not going to. Or this is what they've done to fix it. This is the repaired pothole. And he's like, no, Haley, this can't be true. And he's like, yeah, but this is what taxpayers' money goes towards. I'm like, I say this all the time. I say this every freaking day. We pay for roads. We pay for this type of infrastructure, and we get piss poor management of it. In Germany, not to say
it's not great. Let's just say that
roads are perfect, because you will find potholes, but it's just so much smoother in my opinion. I don't know. I think it's because Germans drive at such a higher speed than in the USA, that a pothole like we have on I-75, I-4, I-95, one of those could equate to life or death for someone if they're driving 200 km/h miles per hour or faster, or it could equate to a lot of damage for a car. I want to know how many cars in the USA have received damage due to a pothole here. There should be like a civil
over 7 for sure
lawsuit against the state. Wish it would change, need it to change. The suspension in my poor little Mitsubishi is probably on its last leg. The last and final thing that I wish the USA would learn from Germany is going to be a little lighthearted and hopefully provide you with a little chuckle, but I wish that the USA would adopt some of the animal sounds that Germany has. And the reason I'm including this was because my little brother was with us on the ride, and we started talking about animal sounds, Mike and I, and making animal sounds with my little brother. And I was like, make a horse, and we neighed. Or like, make a cow, and we mooed. And then I think I said, do a chicken or a rooster. And Mike, and I already knew that this existed, but he said kikariki. And I looked at him.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, that's funny.
My brother looked at him, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that Germans say kikariki for a damn chicken or rooster, whatever the heck bird it is. When I tell you, I had tears in my eyes, y'all. And I said, well, it's technically better than cock-a-doodle-doo, in my opinion, because we say cock-a-doodle-doo for birds. I mean, I don't know what other sounds we make, but I know that cock-a-doodle-doo is one of them, and I think kikariki is a little bit more accurate than ours in the USA. Even though I
That
do
is
have to
funny.
say there are some
It is a
in
good one.
America that we do better than in Germany, but just this specific one really cracks me up.
That's a
And
good one.
if we did not talk about animal sounds with my brother during this car ride, during this road trip, I probably would have forgotten all about it until I heard it randomly some other time. And so those were all the points. I
That's a
hope
good
you
one.
guys learned something. I hope you got a
Thanks. Yeah, that was a good one. 4 for 4 at the beginning. The last one was silly, but sure, that's fine. But 4 for 4 in the beginning there for some great points, I think. Things that I definitely agree with and approve of, you know, spending many years in Germany and obviously spending many years in America. It's clear to see that all of these things are, without a doubt, you don't have to look far to see that these are definitely easy things to see that could be improved. But that being said, I'm curious what you guys, the experts, have to say. If any of you guys have been to America and you have any more ideas for, I guess, what America can learn about Germany, then let me know. Leave your mustard down in the comments section below. And when you're done there, check out madewithhugs.com for merch and more content. But that's all the time that I have for today. Thank you guys so much for being here. And as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.